Hello and welcome students. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss some more application of Biot-Savart law and then we will move to the topics in which we will discuss magnetic forces. So here in front of you we have our first topic for today's lecture, magnetic field due to an infinitely long straight current carrying conductor. So here in front of you can see the diagram is there. This is one infinitely long current carrying conductor, okay, in which current I is flowing in upward direction. Here you can see from this current carrying conductor at a point O, at a distance R, one point P is there. We have to find out what will be the magnetic field due to this current carrying conductor on this point P. Okay, now here first, with the imaginary line, we join point P to one end of the wire and then to the second end of the wire. Okay, here we will get one angle, this one. This angle is between this R and this line. It is phi 1. And the angle between R and this line, it is phi 2. Okay, and here we can see one right angle is formed. Okay, this right angle is between the current element and this position vector. Okay, here we have the right angle. Now when we have to find out the magnetic field due to a long current carrying conductor, so as we have done in other derivations, first we will take one small current element and find out the magnetic field at point P due to this small current element, and after that we will integrate it for the whole wire. So here we have taken one current element Mn whose length is dl and a very small current di is flowing here. From this current element, this is the position vector for point P, and here between the element and the position vector we have one angle theta. Okay, and between R and this position vector we have an angle phi. Okay, so according to Biot-Savart law, due to this small current element, a small magnetic field at point P is given by this equation. dB equals to mu naught upon 4 pi I dl sin theta upon r square. So it is written like this. Okay, where dB, magnetic field, will act perpendicularly downward into the page as the current is flowing upward. Okay, the magnetic field direction at point P will be in the downward direction perpendicular to the page. Now from this figure we will find out some more values. So here first we will find out tan phi. Okay, so this is angle phi, here it is right angle, so that's why trigonometric laws can be applied here for this angle phi. Now tan theta equals to perpendicular upon base. This is perpendicular, this is base. Okay, so this one is perpendicular from point O to this small current element. The distance is L. So L is our perpendicular here and R is our base here. So here tan phi we get as L upon R, or we can get L equals to R tan theta. Okay, now L, that is this length, is equals to R tan theta. If we integrate both the sides, so this L become dl and R tan theta become R sec square theta d phi, R tan phi is there, it will become r sec square phi d phi. Okay, sorry, we have not integrated, we have differentiated it. So when we differentiate this side, dl upon d phi, here we get r in place of tan phi. After differentiation we will get sec square phi. Okay, and then the d phi from the denominator this side will come at this side. So here we get the value of dl. Then we have theta plus phi equals to 90 degree. How? See, in any triangle, the sum of all the angle is 180 degree. If this is 90 degree, that means the sum of theta and phi should be 90 degree. This 90 and these two together will make 90. Then the total sum of angle will be 180 degree. So when theta plus phi equals to 90 degree, we have theta equals to 90 minus phi. So this value of dl and this value of theta we will put in this equation, and we get it like this. By putting all the values there, in place of dl we get r sec square phi d phi, and in place of sin theta we get sin 90 minus phi. Now sin 90 minus phi will become cos phi. Okay, this we know from trigonometrical rules. Then here we have multiplied and divide one more r. So this term become r square upon r square, and here extra r will be there. Okay, we have multiplied and divided capital R here in this one. Then it can be written like this. Okay, now r square upon small r square. So here from figure, in this figure you can see this is the base and this is the hypotenuse. So r upon r will become cos phi. So that's why in place of r square upon small r square we can put cos square phi. Okay, now here we have cos square phi into sec square phi into cos phi d phi. Now cos square and sec square are reciprocal to each other. So cos square into sec square become 1. Okay, so we have only cos phi d phi here now. So dB equals to mu naught I upon 4 pi r cos phi d phi. This is the final value of dV we get from here. This is the small element dl, because of which we have right now find out dB. Now when we have to find out the magnetic field at point P due to the whole wire, we will integrate the value of dB from phi 1 to phi 2. Okay, phi 1 for this end and phi 2 is for this end. So from phi 1 to phi 2 we will integrate it. But one thing we can observe here, that phi 1 is at the downside and phi 2, this angle is the upside angle. So that's why phi 1 we take as negative and phi 2 we take as positive. So we will integrate dB from minus phi 1 to plus phi 2. So this is the final value of dB which we have got. When we integrate it, so all the constant terms will come out, and there the integration will be of cos phi d phi from minus phi 1 to phi 2. Now integration of cos phi is sin phi. When we put upper limit minus lower limit, so we have sin phi 2 minus sin phi 1. This is minus sign here na. When we put the limits, we take as upper limit minus lower limit, but because of this minus, that minus become plus, and we will have this equation. Okay, now for a straight infinitely long conductor, suppose the conductor is very long, infinitely long, so that time what happen, phi 1 and phi 2 will approximately become equals to pi by 2. So when we put sin pi by 2, it is sin 90. So sin 90 plus sin 90, the value of sin 90 is 1. So 1 plus 1 equals to 2. Okay, so here this 2 will cancel this one, and we get this equation. B equals to mu naught I upon 2 pi r. So this is our desired equation for the magnetic field due to an infinitely long straight current carrying conductor at a point located at a distance r from that conductor. Okay. Now this is the general expression. With the help of this expression and this one, okay, with the help of this expression where we have the values of phi, we can find out the magnetic field at different positions from the current carrying conductor. For example, we can see special cases here. If suppose the point P lies at the perpendicular bisector of the conductor. Perpendicular bisector means at the middle. So this is the middle point. Okay, this is the middle point of wire, and here it is at the perpendicular distance from that middle point. So here phi, both the phi 1 and phi 2 both will be equal because it is at midpoint. So at both the sides it will make same angle. So here phi 1 equals to phi 2 equals to phi. So when we put that value in equation, okay, in this equation, here we put phi plus phi. Okay, so we get 2 sin phi, or when we cancel these 2 2s are 4, so we get this equation. B equals to mu naught I upon 2 pi r into sin phi. If P lies at a perpendicular drawn at one end of the conductor, at any end it can be. Okay, if it is upward, if it is at top, so phi 1 will become phi and phi 2 equals to 0 because here we don't have any angle, na? Here this angle will be 0. So here phi 1 equals to phi and phi 2 equals to 0. When we put the same the value in that same equation, we get this one. B equals to mu naught I upon 4 pi r sin phi. If we compare both of these cases, so we can easily see that here and here in that two equation, this is greater than this one. Okay, so if the point P is near the midpoint or the bisector of the wire, that time we will have more magnetic field in comparison to when the point is at extreme ends. When it is at extreme end, we have 4 as denominator. Okay, and when it is at middle, we have 2 as denominator. So this value is more, this value, okay, become more, and this value is less. So in this condition, in first case, we will have more magnetic field. Okay, so it can be asked in your examination that in which situation we have more magnetic field. So you should keep that in your mind. Now next is force on a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field. We have already discussed what is Lorentz force. Okay, Lorentz force is combination of electric Lorentz force and magnetic Lorentz force. Their values and special cases also we have already discussed. Now we will discuss that if a current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, how the force is applied on that. Okay, so here you can see one conductor is there whose length is L. Okay, and current I is flowing here. Vd is the drift velocity, E is the electron, this is the direction of electron. If current is flowing in right hand side direction, the direction of electron will be left hand side. Okay, this conductor is placed in a magnetic field, and this dotted line here you can see, this line is showing the direction of magnetic field. Here you can see B is there. So this line is showing the direction of magnetic field, and this is the direction of current. This is the direction of current. So here between magnetic field and current we have angle theta. Okay, if Vd is the drift velocity of free electron, then Lorentz magnetic force acting on a drifting electron is given by this equation, Q V cross B. In place of Q we can put minus E, that is charge on electron, in place of velocity we can put drift velocity. So we get this type of equation. Okay. If now n is the number density of free electrons, okay, this equation is for one electron only. If only one electron is moving in a magnetic field, so the force on that electron can be given by this equation. But in a conductor, when current is flowing, only one electron is not there, but many electrons are there. So suppose n is the number density of free electron, then total number of free electron in the conductor can be given as capital N equals to NaL, where A is the cross sectional area, L is the length, and N is the number density of free electron. So now the total force acting on conductor will be equals to force on one electron into number of electron. So N into F1. When we put value of N and F1, we get this equation. Okay. And we get this equation, and in first chapter or second chapter we have already derived relation between current and drift velocity. So I equals to NaEVd, this equation we have derived. So in place of this one NaEVd, okay, you can put I, or one thing you can do, if I into L we do here, so NeAVd into L, we get this one here. In vector form it can be written as IL equals to this much. If here we put vector sign, then here the vector sign will be on velocity, because A is area, which is scalar quantity, L is length, N is number of electron, E is charge on electron, these all are scalar quantity. The only vector here is Vd, drift velocity. So if we put vector sign here, so here the vector sign will be on drift velocity. Okay. So now the total force F equals to this much. Here we have seen that. So in place of NaELVd, in place of all this we can put IL. When we put IL here, so because I is scalar here, it will come out, and L is pointing along a particular direction, so that's why L will be in vector product form with B. So here the total force F equals to IL cross B, or it can also be written as ILB sine theta, because here the vector product is there, that's why sine theta, which you can see here. Magnitude of the force can be written like this, ILB sine theta, where theta is the angle between the direction of current and the magnetic field, which I have already discussed in the when I was explaining the figure. Now let's discuss special cases. If theta equals to 0 degree or 180 degree, that time when we put sine 0 degree or sine 180 degree, so the whole force will become 0, because sine 0 is 0. That means at that time no magnetic force acts on a current carrying conductor when it is kept parallel to the direction of the magnetic field. Okay. If the conductor is having same direction as the magnetic field, the magnetic Lorentz force on that will be 0. In second case, if theta equals to 90 degree, that is when the conductor is held perpendicular to the magnetic field. That time when we put theta equals to 90 degree, sine 90 is 1. So here we have F equals to ILB. This is the maximum value of force. So here in this condition the conductor experiences maximum force, and this condition we use in motor and generator also. Sorry, not on generator, on motor. On motor we use this condition only. Because of this principle only a motor runs. Direction of this force is given by right hand screw rule, which I have already explained you yesterday, that if the direction of current is in clockwise direction, okay, and magnetic field is in upward direction, then how it will be there. So Fleming's left hand rule is there, and right hand screw rule is there, According to that rules, you can find out the direction of that magnetic Lorentz force. And this Fleming's left hand rule we have already discussed in class 10th as well. Okay, so once you revise that from the class 10th book, and it is very important, students, that whatever thing we have studied in junior classes should be by hearted by you all, because in higher classes also the same rules are important and we can't explain it again and again because it takes too much time. So because you have already studied that in class 10th, so you must revise that part and then come here and apply that rules here. Okay, so this is it for today's lecture. Goodbye, take care, see you in next lecture. Be healthy, be safe and do some productive work.